Welcome to another episode. My name is Brianna Hendrickson. Today I have President of People's Company, Steve Brewer, with us today. Welcome.
Thanks for including me.
Thanks for coming on today. We are recording this bright and early this morning, so I appreciate that before you get a busy day. And speaking of that, just tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, my role at People's Company is pretty diverse. We're based here in Iowa, but we work in real estate all across the country. So we've got offices out in California, up in the Pacific Northwest, down in the Mississippi Delta, up in Michigan that serves the Lake States and throughout the Midwest. And so anything that touches a farmland transaction, whether that's a brokerage and auction transaction or an appraisal transaction, farm management transaction, crop insurance, we do anything that touches farmland, and it's a pretty interesting business with the diversity of where our locations are at.
So being that you are so diverse in states and stuff, and I mean, every state's going to be different, but what are you kind of seeing with land markets right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of the tale of two worlds right now. Of course, you continue to hear about some really strong sales out there, some record high sale prices, but there's a lot of anxiety out there right now as well with higher interest rates and whatnot starting to impact, how you finance transactions and whatnot. So the changing cost of capital is probably the biggest thing on our minds right now. Commodity prices are generally across the board softening here over the last few months as well. And so we've had a great run in the land market since 2020. And so, it continues to have some real strength in it, but you're also sensing some real anxiety. It really doesn't matter what region of the country you're in. When you change the cost of capital for folks, it changes the whole equation.
Are you seeing a lot more farmland go up for sale, or is it?
Yeah, the irony of that is there's just a real limited supply. So historically, about 2 to 3% of all the farmland in the country transacts annually. So it's a really thinly traded market. And one thing, when you have really expensive land or high price land or strong land markets, that tends to bring a lot of land to the market. And when you've got markets where it's softer, or there's anxiety, or folks aren't wanting to do anything, there's less land on the market. And that's what actually plays into the strength of the land market. When you look at it nationwide, it's only got about 13% leverage against it. And so when you look at that limited amount of inventory and turnover that occurs, plus the limited amount of leverage, there's just not forced sales. People don't have to sell it. And so when this land market gets into, kind of this space we're in right now, where it's neither going up nor going down, it's just kind of flat. The market slows up a little bit, and there's just not as much inventory.
So does that worry you, or like you said, every couple years, at what point do you ever worry?
I worry all the time. We conduct a lot of farmland auctions, for instance, and so, we'll have, 4 or 5 auctions a week. And so you have a lot of anxiety over, which direction the market's headed and what people's moods are and whatnot. We're in the transactional business, so you rely on transactions happening. And so that environment where the market does freeze up, that does create some anxiety internally for me as we think about, volume of transactions. Appraisals slow down, brokerage business slows down. So we rely on the market moving one way or another for our business to conduct transactions. So yeah, I worry a lot about it. But at the same time, there's always opportunity, and there's always folks maneuvering, and, whether it's a 1031 exchange or, there's always factors that drive the farmland market, over leverage or, family transitional issues and whatnot. So it's a vibrant market, and there's a lot of strength in it, though. I don't worry about the farmland market falling out of bed or, prices falling substantially. It's incredibly strong and resilient market.
So you guys offer quite a bit of services. Let's say I want to get into that, or have you guys sell my property. What all steps do I need to take, and what steps do you guys wish we would take beforehand?
Yeah, there's two sides of the business. So we've got also kind of our capital markets side of the business. So we work with a lot of folks that want to get into farmland that don't have a farmland background. So we'll work with, say, family offices, institutions, high net worth individuals that want to acquire farmland. We'll help them with their acquisition work and their diligence work, and then their ongoing farm management work once they start to build a farm portfolio. And that's a really fun part of the business where we're out looking for opportunities and working with farm families across the country to structure those deals. On the sales side, it's really, looking at the asset and determining the best method to get it sold. As you mentioned, we offer a lot of different services. So sometimes it's a sealed bid auction, sometimes it's a public auction, sometimes it's an online only auction. Sometimes we just do a traditional listing. So there's a lot of different methods that we can use, and all the different family dynamics and property dynamics really play into how you structure those sales.
What is your not craziest land property sale that you've done, but like what is something that like a property that has stood out to you over the years?
We've gotten to be involved in a lot of really complex transactions, and we've really carved out a niche working on complicated, larger transactions. Probably one of my favorite ones, we got involved several years ago on 6,000 acres out in Walla Walla, Washington. That was a wheat farm, but it ultimately should be developed into wine grapes and permanent crops and whatnot. And so when we went to sell that, we had to go through this process of educating the market about the opportunity with the water and the ability to transition that from a wheat farm into a permanent crop farm. And so when you have an opportunity to really think about the vision for the property and not necessarily what it is today, but what its highest and best use will be down the road, and really sell that vision, that's pretty exciting stuff to work on.
So do you ever go back and see what has become of the properties that you've sold and just be like, wow, like
it's funny you ask. That particular project, I was out there a few weeks ago in Walla Walla and had an opportunity to go see the property, and they've since planted about 400 acres of grapes, and it's fun to see that vision that we presented, is now moving forward for sure.
Did you get any? Have they produced wine yet? Did you get any of?
Not yet. That wine grape business, it takes such a long time. It's about 3 years before you get into production of selling grapes, and then it takes a couple years before you get it bottled and turned into wine. So it's a long journey.
All right, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for including me.
For premium content, you can head over to the Comstock Report. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button.